All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine, and Coavera, formerly Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Fred Marshall. He's over the other side of the country in Bucks County in Pennsylvania. How are you doing, Fred?
Awesome. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. And Fred is the founder and CEO of Quantum Learning, a pioneer in identifying research behavioral patterns of top performers and scaling them for global innovators like Apple, Pfizer, Genentech. And you're known for turning anxiety into agency and radically simplifying the complex. And your new book is Thrive, the Antidote to Future Shock, a strategic playbook for thriving in the age of AI. And the book is behind us there. You can see it behind
Yeah.
right there with the panda on the front.
Mhm.
Okay, so your new book, right, The Antidote to Future Shock, you're calling a strategic playbook for the age of AI.
I am.
What personal experiences or patterns or what led you to this? Like, where did you create this model from?
Yeah. So, where the model came from and the reason I wrote the book are sort of two different things. But
Mhm.
let's start with why. Why thrive? Uh, the future's changing really fast. AI and exponential change are rewriting the rules of pretty much everything in our economy, and it's just beginning. So, 27, 28, 29 is when AI really is going to be affecting change in our lives in
Mhm.
every possible level. And most people aren't prepared for it. I've been investing in AI startups for a while now,
Right.
since the pandemic. And so I saw this huge gap. People are struggling with how do I thrive in a world where I'm not too sure about the future? I don't quite know what to do. I don't know how to future-proof my life. So that was a motivation. But where the data came from the for the book itself, it depends on the section, but from
Mhm.
all aspects of life, my own research at Quantum Learning, working with Fortune 500 companies and people who are really great at adapting to change and also driving change.
Mhm.
There's two ways to look at it. One is, how do I survive the changes that are coming? That's sort of one perspective. The other perspective is, okay, the landscape's changing, things are moving faster than I'm used to. What opportunities are there? And
Mhm.
how can I become a super change agent? How can I become the author of my own life and do that in practical ways?
Yeah.
And so all the content really comes from a combination of the School of Hard Knocks,
Mhm.
a lot of research on neuroscience and how the brain works, some things about AI that have taught us a lot about how our own minds actually
Mhm.
function. We can get into the details of that in a minute if you like.
Yeah, one of the things I just wanted to also ask you, Fred, is
Yeah,
so AI has really overwhelmed people, right? I mean, it's moving so fast.
it is.
Some people are getting either they're afraid of it or they get so into it that they actually go the opposite direction where they're just obsessively in it. But I
Yeah.
feel like, especially in organizations, people aren't learning or teaching AI. They're not really, companies aren't adapting any strategies around it. And so what you're getting now is you're getting
Mm.
people who are using a lot of AI, but in fact, they're really creating a lot of slop. They're not validating it properly. They're taking it
Mhm.
as, oh, this is real. Oh, this is saving me a load of time, and this is all perfect. And I feel like there's so much going on that people have to start to take control of it and teach people how to use, especially in your organization, how to use AI properly, because otherwise
Yeah.
you're going to end up in a world of hurt.
Well, it seems to be happening already. I just was in Cannes, France,
Mhm.
a couple days ago for this Wall Street Journal conference, all on AI and the impact on marketing and
Mhm.
sales. And one of the questions that came up was, okay, so we generate this data with AI, maybe a marketing plan, maybe a
Mhm.
sales strategy, whatever it is. Is anybody validating that? Is anybody checking to see if it's AI slop or if it's really good content, really
Mhm.
usable, actionable content? So what you're saying is absolutely true. But I think the larger question is, if we've got two lenses through which we can look at this, the individual lens,
Mhm.
and I wrote the book for individuals, but then there's the organizational lens. So organizationally, we've got a long way to go to really leverage the full power of AI as it is today,
Mhm.
and then AI as it's going to be. Agentic AI is just starting. We're just
Mhm.
beginning that process, so nobody really knows where that's gonna go. Nobody really knows what's worth automating, what's worth using AI for. But just to give you kind of a silly example, if you were in sales and marketing, I think the first thing I would do is I'd take every proposal I ever had anybody in my company write for a particular product or service or
Mhm.
whatever it was, and I would take all the ones that succeeded and won, and I'd put them into a big file. And then
Mhm.
I'd take all the ones that didn't work and put them into a big file, and I'd throw them both into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and say, "Analyze the difference between these 2. These proposals won, these proposals different. Do you see any patterns?"
Mhm. Yep.
That's that's a good example of how organizations can use data from the real world to draw conclusions that you can apply back to the
Yeah.
real world.
As
And it
long as they know to validate that just because you put something in and you ask it, doesn't mean that it's correct. And also, here's the other thing I'm seeing a lot of, Fred,
100%.
is I'm seeing a lot of, Fred, is like people aren't understanding the memory. They're not understanding that
Mm,
unless you deliberately tell AI to exclude memory, to go out to fresh reader to validate, you're
yeah, yeah.
getting a lot of confirmation bias and things. And I've seen this a lot where people
Yep.
are it's feeding them back stuff based on what they've talked about before, and it's not giving you the independent feedback that you think you're getting.
Yeah, I think that can happen for sure. It depends on what you load in. Load in good stuff, you're gonna get good stuff out, and limit it to what it already has inside it, and you're gonna be limited to
Mhm.
what you're gonna get out of it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. But
I
I
think
also
that's
thi I
true.
also think the fact is that I think that's the real problem, and this is something
Mm.
individuals can look is really learn the tool and learn how they operate and learn
Yeah.
what information and and be able to spot when you're getting wrong information. Because I think that's the thing is people are starting to rely too much on it. They're getting too much
Mhm.
erroneous information and they're not taking the time. And that's I think that's the big challenge for people is to yes, it's fast and quick and can help
Yeah.
you, but learn how to do it properly, and then you'll be fast and quick and accurate.
Yeah, I think that's true. I definitely think that's true. There's so many things that AI can do, and I just want to point that out. We think, oh, it does this really well, or it
Mhm,
does that really well. It does many things really well.
mhm,
I took a huge stack of this massive trip that I took. 3 different cities, 3 different itineraries, different hotels, courier service, everything. And I said, take this mess, organize it into a really clean and simple format so that
mhm,
I can have on one page each leg of the trip and do this on the left and this on the right. Keep it super simple, elegant, and great. Boom. 3 minutes later, done. And that's all I referred to, those 3
mhm.
pages.
Yeah,
It's fantastic. This thing can do so much, and yes, I double checked to make sure it got my, airline numbers correct and all that. I did do that double checking,
yeah.
but it took me a second, it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
a
that's
big
what I'm
deal.
saying is Fred, I think that one thing that
Yeah,
people need to just have a lesson on is validate your output. That's the one thing. Don't
yeah.
skip that step because otherwise
Mhm.
you're going and I agree with you. We were in Korea recently and I did that whole itinerary as well. But I had it update in the week coming up to it. I had it updated every day on the weather in every
Mm.
place we were
Oh,
going,
nice. Yeah.
so that it also then said, here's suggestion of what to wear, what to bring, like layers and all that
See?
for each, and updating it every day so that
Is this crazy or what? It's
yeah, no, it is
fantastic.
it is it is actually crazy. So tell me,
Yeah,
if somebody is feeling, okay, it sounds like Fred and John know all this stuff and they seem to be fine, but I'm
right.
totally overwhelmed by this. How do you move from overwhelm to agency?
Well, I see it as 3 separate
Mhm.
journeys. And the
Yeah.
first journey is the internal journey.
Mhm.
And that's really understanding how your mind works. It's a lot like a large language model, really understanding that. Understanding how your body works. All health is based on the health of your cells. If you have healthy cells, you're going to have a healthy life because everything ladders up from your cells. People don't think of it that way, but that's the right way to think about it biologically. Next, relationships. All the relationships you have in your life, the core intimate few you tell give your Netflix password to, deepest,
Mhm.
darkest secrets, all the way up to people with deep expertise in different areas, everything from the plumber to, an oncologist. If God forbid you get skin cancer, you want to go to a great oncologist. You want to have the team of people in your life. people who can be catalysts. Catalysts are people like personal trainers. They take you to another level. I
Mhm,
always do a better workout with my trainer than I do by myself. Always. I
mhm.
push harder, I go farther. And then people who can open doors to new worlds. I became friends with Peter Diamandis about 7 years ago, I guess. And Peter has opened up, amazing worlds for me, wrote the forward to the book and all that. Uh, those people can change your future for the better. They can help you future proof your life. And notice none of this has anything to do with AI yet.
Yep.
It's all about how you build your own personal ecosystem. The next is the systems you have in your life. I meant at this Wall Street Journal thing, I mentioned that, we as marketing leaders, these are all CMOs, chief marketing officers, we have these incredible systems in our companies. And then you go home and your systems are a shambles. And the laughter was revealing, right? They were like, oh my God, he sees right through me. It's like, no, we're all like this. But if you can dial in your personal systems, the way you do stuff, everything from, how you brush your teeth to the way you organize your calendar, to the way you get things done, the way you future proof and check, make sure, like I have buildings that have apartments and rent, making sure that the everything is working so the new tenant can come in and it's seamless for them, building those systems at every level of your life. If you just do those things, that's the internal journey, get all that organized and flowing, you're going to have a great life. The second journey is the external journey.
Mhm,
And the external journey is all about operationalizing, taking the insights from the internal journey, how to manage your mind, how to manage your emotional state, how to stay focused, how to not be distracted. We live in a world of distraction, how to not be distracted. This is
mhm.
huge. I can see you understand what I'm saying,
Oh,
and
no,
people listening.
I think the distraction thing, Fred, has been huge, and it's obviously it's been going on for a long time, and it predates even the latest
Yeah.
avalanche of AI and that. I fear that
Mm.
I think this is a really key one because I fear that
Mhm.
if you're distracted by nature or by habit or whatever like that,
Yeah,
then
ADHD.
yeah, yeah, or you just whatever,
Just a normal person.
you're gonna become if you don't recognize that fact, you could become your distraction could go into overdrive now thanks to AI.
It could, and, one of the things I see a lot of is the algorithm deciding what we're looking at right now. You go to TikTok or Instagram, it's the algorithm that's
Sure.
feeding you whatever it is. You're staring at a little bit with what you watch and linger on. But what's important is that what you want your brain to be? Because here's kind of the deep truth, and this
Mhm,
is like a really big truth. Wherever you put your attention, that becomes your future.
mhm,
It shapes your brain, it shapes your neural net, it shapes how you make decisions, it shapes what you value and don't value. So be very careful what you feed your neural net. Feed it good stuff and feed your cells good stuff is gonna come out the other end.
mhm.
It's gonna be fantastic. But having the presence of mind maybe is the right way to say it, to say, "Ooh, ooh, I'm going down the rabbit hole, right? I'm watching too many pandas fall out of trees."
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's so funny and hysterical to watch. I need to stop and
Mhm,
shift my attention someplace else. That's all part of the
mhm,
internal journey. The external journey is operationalizing. So let's talk about this for a second, because this
mhm,
I think is really important, John. So there's only 3 places you can put your attention, believe it or not. The first is priorities. So
mhm.
priorities I define as things that will change your future for the better.
Right.
So it's delayed gratification, it's not gonna show up for a while. So everything we want is, in the category priorities: health, wealth, great relationships, meaningful work, all that takes time to build and develop. The second category where you can put your attention is obligations. So that's all the stuff you have to do. Like I
Mhm.
have a tenant in a building right now where the water heater isn't working. Okay.
Yeah.
It's an obligation. It's not going to change my future for the better, but it needs to be done. And I have to deal with it actually right after this call. So, um, you know, you have to manage your obligations, contain them, automate them as much as you can so that they don't fill the frame. Because the big
Mhm.
problem in life is the obligations day to day, the dishes, the laundry,
Yep.
all that, it just fills the frame and you never get to priorities. And this is a
Mhm.
huge problem. Has nothing to do with AI. AI can make
Yeah.
it better or worse depending on how you use it. And then the third is what we were just talking about, which is noise. All the things that distract you that bring no value except maybe a little dopamine hit or a
Mhm.
little a little cortisol when you feel like having a little cortisol buzz. People do love those thrill rides.
They
They like
do.
to feel the rush. So if every week you say to yourself, okay, what are my priorities? And carve out time in my week just for priorities, 90-minute chunk. I might not get 90 minutes in a day, but I can definitely find 90 minutes in a week to
Yeah.
move the priorities forward. And all the big CEOs and founders of, I've had the privilege of working with really
Mhm.
amazing people. They all do this.
Yeah.
Priorities get their best attention in the morning when they're fresh, and then obligations that they usually push to times when their energy is low, often the
Mhm.
afternoons,
Yeah.
and then noise, they keep it to a minimum.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's funny, Fred, you say that because I was at one stage for a parent company. I ran two different companies at the same time, right?
oh, yeah,
So the
okay,
CEO of two companies at the same time.
it's a lot.
And yeah, no, it was. But people used to ask, like, well, how do you manage that? And I said, it's simple. I said, I just focus on the priorities for each business, and anything else that's not a priority and not urgent or whatever, I don't pay any attention to.
Yeah, yeah.
Simple as.
Simple
And
as, yeah, and have a team to handle that.
yeah,
Somebody's gotta do it, but it doesn't have
yeah.
to be you. I was thinking before our conversation today, I was thinking, like, never do anything you don't have to do yourself. Like,
Mm,
if somebody can here's the way to say it, if somebody else can do something for you, or if something else can do something for you, have them do it for you, because it frees you up to do the things that only you can do, and that's
yeah.
kind of a CEO secret.
It is, and it's funny, Fred, just on that as well, of just tying it back to AI.
Mhm.
There's the temptation. Now I can do more by myself. So now instead of and so you can easily fall down to the trap where you actually start taking on more stuff,
You can.
deprioritize it, not focusing on your priorities, but doing things because now you can. It's fun. I don't have to wait. I don't have to negotiate with Fred over this. I can just go ahead and do it. But just because I can doesn't mean I should. And to your point, is
Yeah.
that the best use of my time?
Yeah, and the answer is probably not.
Mhm.
In most cases, probably not. That's such an interesting thing, the idea that here you are, you're going along in your day, and then
Mhm.
this obligation shows up, and it hijacks you, and you
Yeah.
never get to your priority for that day or that week. What is the long-term cost of that? Oh, man, it's huge, it's huge, and it's dangerous because it sneaks up on you, it doesn't show up for 6 months or a year, but this thing that's really important that you need to build, like wealth or
Yeah.
health, longevity, whatever it is, good relationship, takes a hit, and the next thing you know, 2 years go by, and you goes like, "Oh, man, I'm still stuck in the same place, a job
Yep.
I really don't love, relationships that aren't that great." And so I think it's very important to use all the tools, and I would add AI as one of the super tools
Mhm.
to keep the noise at bay, to
Yeah.
manage the obligations, and then I would also add, be the accelerator for the priorities, because
Mm.
AI can let you do stuff you'd never be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Be the accelerator for the priorities, but don't let it become another thing that, you start fulfilling obligations or you start doing stuff. Because
It's
you mentioned
true.
earlier about noise, and distraction is I
Mhm.
talk to a lot of people and I get the same message all the time. It's like, "Oh, John,
Yeah.
I'm busier than I've ever been in my life." And my comeback has always been, "Are you?" And they said,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, yeah." And I said, "But okay." And I say, "Okay, so if I did, do you remember those old style time and motion studies? So
Oh, yeah.
if I had a guy in a white coat
Frederick Taylor.
and a clipboard standing behind you and watching you all day, right? What would they find?" And people go, "Oh, well," yeah." I said, "Now, how often would they find you're on ESPN? Or how often would they find that this or an email popped up in the middle of doing something and you took care of that, but then you went on to something else, you forgot to come back to what you were doing?"
Yeah.
I said, "The reality is we're more distracted than we've ever been. It's not
Mhm.
that we're busier, it's that we're more distracted. And to your point, we've become worse at prioritizing and focusing."
I think that's absolutely true. If you wanted to put your phone on, that mode that it films it slow so you can play it back at fast speed,
Mhm.
and you can see you just set your phone over there and leave it on for an hour recording you, but play it back fast, and you'll see, you know, the average millennial picks up their phone 100 times a day. Okay. You don't need to go much farther than that. And guess what? It's not just millennials.
Yeah.
It's people my age, and everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
There's something else though that's worth talking about, if you have a second for this
Yeah,
thought,
yeah, of course.
and that is the great irony of a world that's moving faster than ever before is it's really valuable to slow down,
Mhm.
do fewer things, but do them at a higher level.
Yeah.
And that is really kind of a magic formula.
Yeah.
You don't it's one thing to, "Oh, yeah, I check my boxes." I love making lists, so once I check the list, it's very gratifying. You get to the end of the day, it's like, "I did everything," and then you look at what was accomplished, it's like, "Well, it didn't really move my future very
It didn't
much."
move the needle, but it got my task list down.
Yeah, and it wasn't that fun either, To me, it's either gotta be fun or move the future, and
Yeah.
and if I can have it do both, then I'm having a great day. But, that concept of giving yourself permission to slow down and pick a handful of things to do really, really well is transformative.
Yeah, it's like slow down to hurry up, and I think that's the
Mhm.
thing because and what's it more haste, less speed, and I
Mhm.
think that's the world a lot of people find themselves in. They're moving really fast, they're doing lots of things, but they're not getting anywhere. They're on hamster wheels,
They
because
are.
and I think you gotta stop and exactly, and you gotta prioritize and you gotta focus, and I think and here's the great thing is
Hmm.
is this is a phenomenal time and opportunity for people who decide that they're
Right?
going to be a little more disciplined, they're going to be a little more focused, they're gonna slow down to hurry up, they're doing all gonna
Mhm.
do all the things that you're talking about here. This is a fantastic opportunity, and it's not age related either. You could be a
Not
millennial,
at
you could
all.
be somebody our age, and that's the other thing, Fred, I think
Hmm.
for, I said our age, I have no idea what age you are, you're probably younger than me, but anyway,
I'm
I'm
older than I look.
yeah, so, I would say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I've had a hard life." But,
What's the old quote? It's not the years, it's the mileage.
exactly, yeah, yeah. But the point that, but the point being is that, uh, a lot of people who are more seasoned and older or
Mhm.
whatever are worried, very worried about AI. But the fact is, when you bring your experience, your education, your knowledge,
Absolutely.
your gut instincts, your new and all the
Mhm.
stuff you built over the years, you actually are a power user.
100%. Yes, for sure. Yeah. People say, "Well, what are the ways you use AI?" And I tell them, they go, "Oh my god, how did you think of that?" It's like, I
Mhm.
don't know. It's just how I think.
Yeah.
We have this, over time, you develop really great ways of figuring out how the world works and solving
Mhm.
problems and doing
Exactly.
things, and we've seen so many problems that you get really good at figuring them out, and then allows you to do things that you could never do before, which is, I think, one of the most exciting parts about today that that I really think everybody needs to remember, and that is the opportunities today, the possibilities today are so incredible, and AI is kind of this little secret facilitator of
Yep.
those things. And despite all the concerns that we had earlier about, fact checking and all that, putting that to the side for a moment, it's incredible the
Mhm.
stuff you're able to do. I'll give you one quick example from a friend of mine named David Sinclair. He's up at Harvard, and he has found these three Yamanaka factors that can reverse aging in mice, and reverse aging in the retina, for certain disease states, and they're going through clinical trials right now.
Wow.
Anyway, these are proteins, so it's hard to get a protein into your body and into a cell. It's expensive. Wouldn't it be cool if you could make a small molecule that you could take as a pill? That would be fantastic.
Mhm.
So they're working on it. What they did was they had AI develop, based on the Yamanaka factors, develop 1.5 billion different alternative compounds to test them to see if they could do the same thing,
Right.
all in a virtual setting.
Mhm.
This would have taken centuries 10 years ago. There's not right? Centuries. It did it in a couple of months, 1.5 billion compounds, found 350 that looked really promising. They made the molecules. They physically made them and tested them, and they found a bunch that worked. It's like, "What? What?" This is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
The things that are coming in the sciences, and I could give you story after story of people who are really bringing the Jetsons into the
Yeah.
that TV show, The Jetsons. Here's your boy Elroy. Into the present moment, flying cars, they'll be
Yeah.
loud, but
Uh,
they're it looks like they're on their way. I'm not sure I wanna have them. 'em, they're kinda
Yeah, yeah,
noisy, but
I'm a bit sketched on that one, but we'll see. But I guess we probably would have said the same about the driverless taxis and stuff once upon
yeah.
a time. So, and I think your point is a good one, and I
Mm,
think that's it. I think if you focus on a couple of priorities, as you said,
mhm.
and then figure out how to use AI. The things you're going to be able to do are
Yeah,
amazing, but don't get scattered. Get focused and really learn how to use it into things
always.
you do. I bet tell you, and you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, I'm doing amazing things. I started using Claude Code recently,
Oh,
and
Claude is ridiculously good.
yeah, but I actually in Claude Code even it's even more when you start to learn how to use that. It's absolutely
Mhm.
incredible, and you just work alongside these and your age, and it's just incredible. But to your point is like find the things that are most important, and then learn how to use AI to maximize, optimize them.
Yeah, and you can ask AI to help you figure it
Yeah.
out. Like, it's silly examples. We were doing some marketing for someone, and they had 3 different, message platforms. So in marketing, that's like the core message and then all
Mm,
the
yeah.
supporting things that roll up to that. 3 different ones. So I loaded it all into Claude, and I said, "Just for fun, make me a website with these 3 different message
Mhm,
platforms. Make me a landing page for each one, and here are the design guidelines, here are the colors, here are the fonts, here's the style and sensibility. Use these websites as models for the look and feel and the functionality and so forth, and then go."
yeah, yeah.
It comes back with 3 within, I think it was maybe 6 minutes. I went and got a cup of coffee and came back, it was done. Then I said, "Okay, that's good, that's kind of nice, but I what if we changed it to this?" It made a fourth version, and then it just outputted it as an HTML5
Mhm,
packet, and I could just touch that, and it shows up on my
yeah,
browser. I
yeah,
could send it to a friend and say, "What do you think of this?"
yeah. No,
This
that's
is
it's
unprecedented. 6 minutes to build 3 landing pages?
I'll give you
That's
I'll give you
that's
a better one,
fantastic.
I'll give you a better one, Fred. We rebranded in 60 days. Can you
It's a
I mean,
perfect example, a
could you
perfect
imagine in
example,
the old
yeah.
days if you said to
Oh, it'd take a
somebody, "We're
year.
gonna rebrand, but you've only got 60 days, a new website, new logos, everything,
Yeah.
all do the whole thing." 60 days.
It's a cool world, and it's worth so let's talk about having an investment mindset,
Mhm,
which is another thing we talk about in Thrive, the antidote to future shock. An investment mindset means developing the full potential of something you care about. So it
mhm,
could be your granddaughter, for example. I have a granddaughter, her name is Mila. How do I develop that relationship, and how do I help her grow and develop?
mhm,
So I want to invest in that. I invest in stocks and bonds. I invest in key relationships who could change my future for the better. Whatever you want to invest in, the secret sauce, everybody knows this who's been investing for any length of time, is weekly action.
mhm,
If you do something every week, 52 weeks a year, work out 52 times a year, you're going to see changes. Work out, 3 times a week. So 3 times 52 times a year, you're going to get fit. A year from now, you're going to go, wait, what? What just happened? So there's this power of compound investment, but not just with money, but with
mhm.
everything you
Every
care about. And guess what? Your attention is the most important investment you can make. So if you think about your attention as the currency and apply that to whatever you care about. And in the very beginning of Thrive, we talk about the super 8. There are 8 things that you could invest in. And it's stuff that we've already talked about: your mind, your cells, your health, your relationships, your systems, the spaces that you live in, like this space behind
Mhm,
me. There's I've got it all dialed in. I hit one button on and the whole thing lights up, and I sit down and we go. That's
mhm,
a system for doing podcasts. You build systems in each area of your life, pretty soon your life is seamless. And
mhm.
and that frees up emotional and mental bandwidth to do the fun, cool stuff that you love to do. And that, my friend, is how it's done. Everybody who you see who looks like they're just gliding through life, they have all the same problems that we do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they have systems that they've developed over time that handle most of that. Not everything, there's always surprises. I got a
Yeah,
surprise this morning. But it simplifies things. And once your life is simple, then your shoulders go down and you
yeah.
feel good and you're optimistic about the future again and feel instead of feeling that dread that so many of us feel sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely, absolutely, Fred. Well, this has been fantastic. All of Fred's information will be below this video. But before we go, because I feel bad for your tenant who probably can't take a hot shower right now.
Yeah, she's really good. She's brand new. Today was her first day, and she's like,
All right.
"No,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
water's not working." It's
Yeah.
like
So I
6:30 this morning.
I feel
Boom, there it
bad
was.
keeping you from that. But
No, it's good.
before we
It's
go,
cool.
Fred, please do remind people about you and what you do and your new book.
Fred Marshall, author of Thrive, The Antidote to Future Shock. It's all about building the future that you want, despite change, despite complexity, despite AI, despite the crazy world that we live in, so that you can have a great life. You know, that to me is the bottom line. If you can live your life on your terms and contribute to others at the same time, wow, that's good stuff. And I think the last thing I'd like to leave people with is, you know, you deserve to thrive, and Thrive will show you how to do that.
Fantastic. Well, listen, as I said, go check it out. Go check out the book Thrive. Check if you've heard what Fred has said today, and I mean, lots of great insights. Don't let your life pass you by. You know, and don't let
Mhm.
this all be just because everything's moving so fast and everything. Don't think that you can't actually slow it down, like we talked about.
It's
So,
true.
so thanks again, Fred.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
John.
watching and listening. I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.
Take care.